don't open the podcast. I open the podcast. How dare you? How dare you? What's up, everybody? Hey, it's me, Johnny. And with me, I've got DJD, Farmer, and String Bean.
And apparently he needs to learn his role here.
I know, apparently.
Jeez, excuse me.
Jeez.
Until he says I'm allowed to speak, I guess I'm not allowed to speak.
It's his first time on the podcast. And he's like, hey.
Whenever he holds up the card, that everybody can see. He holds up the card then.
I just want to clarify for those listening to our audio podcast that we will not be doing any visual bits because I'm the only one with my camera on. Though Farm just turned his camera on. But Logan is a member of Anav, String Bean, and a good friend of mine. We met here in Japan. Is there anything that people should know about you?
I mean, there's not much to know.
True.
Currently live in Tokyo. I've been a member for a bit now. Always here to support anyone who needs it.
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color, gotta say,
be green. I mean, String Bean green.
I wish that was the case. My child self wants to say red, but we all know it's actually more of a purple.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I like purple. Purple's a good one.
Like a royal purple.
Do you feel royal? Yeah, I was just about to say that. Do you feel royal?
Yeah, I do. That's why I like it. I'm the king of my own house, which is a complete lie if my wife were actually here.
I saw this joke about that. There's behind every great man is the drawer I'm trying to get into. Why are you in the kitchen? Because my wife gets mad at me about that all the time. Like,
my wife does too.
That's actually a good play on that phrase. I like it.
Yeah, what's up?
Get out of my kitchen.
Exactly, get out of here. But D, how are you? Farm, how are you?
Doing all right.
I'm doing good. Kind of glad the week's done, honestly. It's just been a crazy last couple weeks.
How was your hike? We talked about it last week.
Man, so in the moment, it's like, you're just like telling yourself to keep on going, I mean, I really enjoyed it. And if you've ever done like running or any stuff like that, it's definitely one of those moments where you're like at the last leg of a 5K or something like that. And you're just like, okay, I'm going to keep on going because if I keep on going, I keep moving. That's exactly how you felt when you're up there towards the middle. I mean, pretty much after the 1,300 step,
Hold on really quick. I want to do the visual bit of the podcast right now. See, everyone, if you could see me, you would know that I've not done running. I don't get it. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Farm.
Well, so around about, I think, 1,300 steps, there's a spot where you can actually like bail. It's like the actually there's a trail where you can actually start going down.
There's just a gun. There's just a gun with one bullet on it.
They're like,
can we make those kind of jokes on this?
Apparently it's like so you either go back or you go back up the path of no return. They give you a bail. So
that's crazy.
They give you a bail around 1,300, and after that, it intensifies crazy. I mean, you're basically climbing. If you've talked to Piccinini, I think she was in here last week, maybe talking about it a little bit. But yeah, there was parts where it felt like you were pretty much straight up climbing, almost like a ladder.
Which mountain is this?
This is the Manitou Incline over in Colorado, and you go up to 2,786 steps or something like that.
Yeah, but it's also like a 2,000 feet elevation, right, or something crazy.
I mean, yeah, every step you're going up in elevation, and you're already. I mean, I flew into Denver, and it's already high. And then we traveled 2.5 hours over there, and then you're going even higher. And supposedly the elevation is, I mean, for sure, it's got to be higher than the Empire State Building. Like high.
Oh, for sure. In all of the videos, you looked like you were having a super easy time, and everyone else was having a hard time. You looked great the whole time.
Well, nobody caught me when I was in the corner, in the shadows, taking a breather, like
sobbing.
It's like, just wait, okay, let me recover.
Try not to actually cry because that'll like actually waste your breath. But
I actually talked about this at one point with Caitlin because she lives in Colorado, and we live basically at sea level here in Japan. Like the
Mhm.
ocean's right over there, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, even if she teleported directly to where I am, she would be like almost a mile up in the sky.
It's kind of crazy.
Like I wouldn't even be able to see her. Right? Isn't that crazy?
When you think about that, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
No, you're not
Pretty
wrong.
really?
Ridiculous.
Isn't that weird, Logan, to think about? Like she'd be way up there. Because
No,
like
no.
where she lives, the elevation is like 1,600 feet. It's like almost a mile.
Mm-hmm.
In our
How many
Five-
miles in a feet?
5,000.
Oh, how many feet are in a
oh,
mile?
was it 5,000? I thought it was
5,280.
1,800. I thought it was 1,800. Never mind.
About at. Well, if she's already up 1,200, and then we went up, I don't know how many more feet. I mean, at least half a mile.
At
close
least
to.
3 feet up.
At least.
At least three more.
feet. Three more feet.
Yeah. It's high, but it's high. They'd be up there. You'd be like,
It would be high. It would still be high. Yeah.
we have little
It'd be
baby
crazy.
mountains like right over here that like everyone in Colorado, they would just call those hills. They're not mountains, they're
yeah.
hills.
I mean, yeah. When Tuna came out here, he was like, "These aren't mountains." The Tennessee, the Smoky Mountains, as they call them, and like these are nothing. I'm like, okay.
You're like, you better watch your mouth, fish boy.
Watch your mouth. I grew up on these hills. And
Yeah,
I did pretty
exactly.
well. I'm just saying, for climbing those mountains, these hills trained me. I'm just telling you right now, these hills trained me.
I mean, I come from Texas, so
The mountains of Texas.
anything's a mountain.
Yeah, is there a mountain?
We do
out there?
have a few, but they're not
Just
just
a bunch of oil fields, right?
There are. Well, that's more like east.
I know, I
West
know, but
Texas.
that's like the quote unquote. That's Texas, just oil fields.
I had a friend who went to like the highest mountain in Florida, and it's like a tiny baby hill, but it's like the highest point in the state of Florida. It's awesome.
We did it, guys. We made
Yeah.
it to the top. Okay, let's get.
You can like
did it.
barely
Get
even
in
tell
here.
that there's an incline on the road. You
Oh
know,
my
like
goodness.
it just seems. Like,
It's probably Space Mountain.
So one of the funny things about last week when we were all done, we're like, pretty much we were there eating. After doing it, we did it. We checked the box, and everybody's like, "We're never doing that again." And then I just said, like, we're having this conversation, like, just wait 1 week. We're gonna get amnesia and be like, "Oh, we can do that again." And I was just talking to Caitlin last night. And she was like, "Yeah, I'd be down to do it again." I was like, "I told you,
oh
you."
my god!
It only took a week.
Last week she was like, "Never again." Hashtag
I know.
never again.
We could totally do it now. Once you've done it once, though, it's like anything else. You can do it again. Unless you broke your ankle or something like that, you can do it again.
She did break her ankle. That's why she couldn't be a coder.
Right.
Remember all the coding
Yeah,
in the
true.
ankle.
But she did a good workout on it, and she's getting back up to par.
I mean, obviously, the next thing that needs to happen is everyone just needs to come here to hike Fuji.
All right, I'm ready.
My whole suggestion about how we should put a casino on top of that mountain. It's the same thing with Mount Fuji. You get up to the top, there ain't nothing up there.
Mhm.
They need to put a casino up there.
How would they get it up there though?
That doesn't sound like my problem.
True.
I'm just the idea guy.
All you need really is like a team of like 10 people to like get up there with supplies for like that end of the lift, and then you build a lift, and then you just transport all the materials that way.
Yeah.
There you go. You just make it
Yeah.
temporary lift,
Or
and you can take it
helicopters.
down if you need to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
Sounds
not.
like
And then you just charge a lot of money for people to take the lift up or down.
Kind of like highways in California, right? Like all the freeways go to the same places, but they take twice as long. So you can
Yeah.
either pay the toll or take twice as long.
Or you could even like make it to where it's like one trip per person, like just one group can go up a day, so they limit the traffic, just like, oh, you have to get in that time slot.
What I wanted to do is start selling t-shirts that say like I climb Mount Fuji. And if
Mhm.
you buy it at the top of Mount Fuji, it's like $5. But if you
There
buy
you
it
go.
at the foot, it's like $100.
I
would
like
buy
that.
it at
It's
the
kind of like
foot.
the in-game content. Like it's super expensive if like you can't technically buy it, but you get that special code and it makes it $25 or something like that. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Hey, if you climb up here, maybe you just give it to people at the top.
Yeah, there you
Like,
go.
you can just have it.
It's like you did it. You deserve this.
Well, especially now that they have a charge to
Do
climb
they?
Mount Fuji. Yeah, they recently instituted it because of
Oh,
over
wow.
tourism.
Y'all need to
See,
stop
Johnny?
coming over here.
Yeah.
Johnny's right. You know, like they don't want us over there.
No, they don't.
Instead, where you should go is the International Space Station, where you can get stranded for like a year.
Yeah,
Sounds like fun.
yeah. It sounds like a good time. I would love to just eat another astronaut's food. You know, make them ration. Speaking of space, do you guys see the rumors that the Acolyte was canceled?
Well, it's official, right? Well,
Yeah,
it
it's
didn't get
official.
canceled. It just
Mhm.
didn't get a season 2. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I saw
it didn't
people.
get renewed. I guess is the official.
People were worried it was
statement.
going to get taken off of Disney Plus.
I think that's like hyperbole.
Well, they took off
Yeah.
the Willow show.
Yes, but that was for different reasons.
Oh, what were the? Do you know?
The Willow had to do with some of the feedback and everything. I think this was just nobody watched Acolyte enough for them to justify the high expenditure. So
That
I think
being
those are
said,
two pretty different situations.
I read that Andor had a higher budget and less people watched Andor.
I did not read that actually, huh?
No, that sounds
Yeah.
like a rumor, a false rumor.
But I watched Acolyte. I watched it over 3 days. 2 episodes, 3 episodes, 3 episodes. And it was awesome. I'm so tired of the haters. That show was great. No, I had no real problems with it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
it. That's
actually.
the podcast. All right, that's it, guys.
Yeah.
All right, well, guys, it's been great. I mean, I really did enjoy coming back to the podcast this week. Thanks for letting me come back and not actually kicking me out.
But
Johnny,
it
you're
was
right.
a great show.
Actually,
It was a great show.
I don't know about views, but also Andor had 12 episodes as opposed to Acolyte's 8?
8. Yes.
But Andor did have a budget of $250 million to Acolyte's $180 million.
That's a lot more millions.
Yeah.
I want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
A lot more millions. If they just wanted to give me one of those millions, it would be sweet.
Life would change,
You know?
man.
But I thought the show was really good. Again, I was familiar with some of the hate, fires in space, that kind of stuff. But I thought it was great, and I actually really liked it. I'm kind of bummed that there's not going to be a season 2.
Really?
You should check it out.
I'll have
it was
to check
great.
it out.
I think it really benefited that I binged it. I imagine waiting week to week, that would have sucked.
We started watching the first 2 when they came out episodes, and I mean, for what I watched, we enjoyed it. But then we were waiting week to week, and then we ended up never circling back yet. But I still plan to. It's just like just one of those things. We got busy, but I mean, still, I'm excited to finish it up.
It was great.
What I watched, I enjoyed. So
The Acolyte's last episode was the lowest viewed Star Wars finale of all time. Yeah.
Really?
Which is crazy because it was great. The last episode was actually a really good one.
I actually really liked the last episode. The last 2 episodes, I think, were actually really, really good. Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I'm not a hard Star Wars fan or anything, but very much like Marvel, I'm just like sick of them. Like, I'm sick of the things in those universes, the way they've been making them.
Well,
current.
guess who's never coming back to this podcast?
Yeah, wow.
Oh my god.
Okay. What I will say about the Acolyte was I thought it approached Star Wars in a new way, different from anything else has approached Star Wars at. Similar to Andor a little bit, and that was of being so different.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool because I am a little bit burned out on okay, let's do the Skywalker saga again. Let's do the same old story.
Don't you want to see some Jedis die in Order 66 again? One more
I say
time.
I say that, but
time.
also anything Star Wars, I'll consume. I'm rabid for it.
What I liked about the Acolyte, other than just I enjoyed representation. I thought that was nice.
Yes, that was cool. Yeah.
It felt very Star Wars. I feel like they hit the vibe,
Yeah, I mean, just the first 2 episodes that I watched, I mean, it didn't feel anything but Star Wars, So, I mean, I don't know.
Was there enough sand?
There wasn't a desert planet. There's not a desert planet in the Acolyte. Spoilers. So I guess it's really not Star Wars if you think about it.
There you go. Everybody was holding on to that sand, you know.
It's a great show, and I think people need to just chill.
Oh.
Actually, I mean, to be fair, I think people living in America, so Logan lives in Japan with me. I think people living in America need to stop over politicizing everything. Because, like, stepping away
Agreed.
from that and all of the criticism surrounding the show, I thought it was just good. You know, is it peak cinema? No. Is it on par with every other Star Wars property? Yes.
Yes, 100%.
Was there political issues?
Well, people didn't like that the main
criticisms?
character is a black woman. There's an Asian Jedi. People didn't
Okay.
like a lot of that stuff.
Why is that? Why is that an issue?
David, you want to dive into it?
People want stories that relate to them, right? People want stories that they feel like they can like actually relate to. And so like if anything doesn't necessarily fit what they think something should be, they tend to lash out at it instead of exploring their own internal like their own internal conceptions of what it should be and why. Going back to the cost real quick. Acolyte was actually more expensive per minute than Andor. And this Forbes article brings up a great point that also with Andor you can tell where the money went. I feel like that doesn't necessarily come across super well in Acolyte. There are times where it's like, okay, this looks pretty expensive, and there are times where it's like, okay, this doesn't look that great.
You know, that's interesting because I'll say, and you know, we'll see if people are annoyed by this. I didn't notice anything in Acolyte that I thought didn't look great. Like, the whole thing felt very consistent the whole way through to me.
Maybe that's what they kind of did instead of like, you know, some shows they tend to like, you know, like save it for certain points and like have way bigger like finish or way better mid finale or whatever. And maybe their approach was like, let's have it spread across the whole way to make it consistent. Maybe that's why it's not as maybe like, you know, right there in your face when you see it, but it's just like hitting, it's like slowly just trying to hit all the marks. Maybe, I don't know. It's
I
just a
watched
thought.
the whole thing on my 13-inch iPad, which maybe some people would say it's too small. I don't know, but I thought that it was fine.
Interesting.
I think it being fine, I would agree. I would say that it's also pretty consistent all the way through. But like you don't have huge set pieces or a ton of like special effects, with the exception of like the town that they go to in like the first episode kind of looks like a pretty decently like, you know, built town and everything, but like you only see a small part of it. And then also like the lightsaber fight was like phenomenal in terms of everything about it. But like with Andor, you do see like pretty major like special effect, like it looks like movie quality in terms of like some of the set pieces and like the special effects and the CGI.
Yeah, no, I just think that, you know, it's like Hogwarts Legacy. Like, people have to hate something, and it's just
Right.
going to be dead on arrival because of it. You know?
Well, and the crazy thing too, like it was like the same as kind of like Avatar, but more extreme, I would even say, where like people were hitting on it before it came out, and it's like you don't know anything about this.
Yeah,
And
people
then
were mad
with
because they brought a bunch of influencers to the premiere. I remember that too.
Yeah. Well, like even before that though, even like from the very first like airing of the first trailer, you know, people were hating on it, going, "Oh, that's not my Star Wars," or whatever. And like from that point onward, it felt like people were specifically looking for things to hate about it, which was pretty upsetting. Like I think it has even right now like a really low score on Rotten Tomatoes. I think in terms of fans, the fan score I think is 18%, and the reviewer score is closer to like 80. The disparity there is crazy, you know? I mean, it's literally just a bunch of people who either didn't watch it or were already determined to hate it, it feels like.
Right.
You know?
And so I would say, having just watched it, go watch it if you guys haven't seen it, and just chill out. It's great.
Yep. I would agree. Yeah.
The lightsaber fights, fantastic.
Yeah, that choreography was
Also-
fantastic. Yeah.
Gutsy. Like, the show was really gutsy.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't know that I can get into it without getting into spoilerish kind of territory.
Okay.
Well, you could
That's
just say
fine,
that
that's
they took chances where others want to stick to more of a safe route.
Yeah, I guess that's a nice way of saying it. I don't want to get people mad, but I do want to be timely here because we have another thing I want to talk about. Hey guys, guess what? There's no reason to own an Xbox. Did you know that?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, here we go. Here we
Do you know
go.
Okay.
I'm
Because-
back. I leave for a week, and we're still back.
What?
We're still back to this.
Because I found out about this. Apparently, Indiana Jones is coming out on PlayStation. They lied. Phil Spencer lied. He said it wasn't going to come out on PlayStation, and it is. There's no reason to buy an Xbox.
They
That's
never
it.
said
It's
that
over.
it was not coming to PlayStation.
It's over.
They just said
It's done.
it wasn't launching. It wasn't launching.
Well, what they said was they were asked, like, hey, like, which 4 games are coming to PlayStation when those 4 games were announced initially, right? And Phil said, well, it's not Starfield and it's not Indiana Jones. Like, chill out. But, like, unfortunately, him using those 2 games as examples, like, is now starting to make a lot of people think because Indiana Jones is now coming to PlayStation in spring
Yep.
2025.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, why buy an
Whatever that
Xbox
means.
if you can just play all of the games on PlayStation? You know, hey,
Or you're just saying everybody should get a Steam Deck. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because having played so much Destiny, the idea of a timed exclusive, right, is not new to me as an Xbox player. That happened a lot, right? Where it's like and then even timed exclusive to PlayStation before it comes to PC, right? So it is interesting seeing it go the other way. But you want to talk about it? You want to talk about your feelings? How do you feel defending a company that just lies and is greedy?
Okay.
How do you feel defending a company that's greedy and just trying to get as much money as possible?
I think
After shutting down the studio that made Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh
Can you
my
believe it?
gosh! Don't get
They
me
shut
started
down the
on that.
studio
Oh my
and-
gosh!
and now they're just selling out to PlayStation.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think more games in more places is always good. I do worry about the lower value proposition of the Xbox for like more casual console buyers. For myself, I'm still pretty invested in Xbox. I appreciate having my library there. I like the UI a lot. I think that it has a lot more consumer-friendly features. And Game Pass, right? I mean, like, I think there's
ship
plenty
is
of
sinking.
reasons for some
DJD is not
people
getting off.
to own an Xbox.
Game-
But all those
But-
things you can also just buy on. You can buy on a ROG Ally.
Well,
or
and
a,
the thing
Yeah.
is too,
Sony has.
all these games for a while now have been available on PC day and date, right? Like that's been part of Microsoft's commitment in terms of like making games available on more platforms. Now, I could see the other argument of like, you know what, like PlayStation has all these awesome exclusives that they will never, ever, ever allow to come to Xbox.
It's all
And
they
so
have.
why not buy a PlayStation if you're going to also get Xbox's games eventually there too?
It's literally
I
all they have.
I don't think that there's any guarantee of any particular Xbox game coming over there. I think it's a little weird that this was announced so far in advance. But also, like, I really hate, though, the opposite, right? I hate timed exclusives when you don't know that they're timed exclusives. Like, oh, maybe we'll get it someday. You know, like, maybe Final Fantasy VII Remake will come to Xbox someday. I mean, we just
It
got
was
Final
in a
Fantasy
trailer.
14. We're about to get Genshin Impact. But, I mean, like, all of that we didn't know we were getting until, like, you know, very, very recently. You know, I mean, yeah.
I don't think it's like it makes Xbox less valuable, but I will say, I mean, surely there is value to putting a game out on the larger platform, right? Like, it's not even a competition between the size difference between the Microsoft Game Store, like on Xbox and PlayStation. So, in the sense of like they want to make money, it makes sense to put the game out on PlayStation.
Well,
But what you're talking about is like almost console sales versus these games. So yeah, these games that are Xbox games and are games exclusive for a limited time, they will eventually come to PlayStation. Honestly, that's going to make them more money in the long run that they're actually selling
Right.
these to PlayStation. So technically, Xbox
Yeah.
is fine.
And also, like, if I owned a PlayStation, and I was waiting for a game to come to
You do.
it, and I found out that like a game would come to it like 5 months later, that would incentivize me to get an Xbox at some point. You know, like I'd be like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm
because you
tired
miss
of
out on
waiting
the
5
hype.
months to play a certain game, right?
You miss out on the whole thing, you know.
You're like, I need to get an Xbox so I could not play that game that everyone hates and doesn't want to play.
It's like
But-
because in 4 or 5 months, you know, nobody could be playing it, right? Right, Johnny?
Yeah, in 4 or 5 months, you're talking about the Acolyte when everyone's already moved on. You know, you're like, wow, what a great show, incredible.
And to Johnny's point, like the PlayStation is outselling the Xbox 5-1 right now. Like,
Is
that's
it
pretty
5
huge
to 1?
numbers. It's 5-1 lately.
That's
Not overall.
That's the only
but
thing keeping
over
Sony
the
alive
past,
as
like,
a
couple
company.
quarters or whatever, it's been like 5-1.
It is the only thing keeping Sony alive as a company.
This
That is true.
absolutely makes sense from a business perspective. My only worry is that Xbox has repeatedly told us, like, that their hardware will remain a pillar of Xbox, that they are absolutely committed. And remember way back in the day when they were like, we're going to be more aggressive because we don't want our consumers to feel like they're second-class gamers, right? Like, that was one of Phil Spencer's, like, main tenets coming on. And so, like, it kind of sort of feels like, I mean, like, if we're getting some of the games that everybody else has access to on PlayStation, you know, it kind of sort of feels like we're being left behind a little bit in terms of that. Now, I have a PlayStation, so really, I'm not really affected by this. But, I mean, I could see, like, a worry of some people, like, deciding, you know what, the next Xbox, like, maybe I won't get that. And what concerns me more than even personal preference is the fact that competition makes things better. The number of features that PlayStation has introduced because Xbox has kind of forced them to by just competing with them on hardware has been like in the dozens. Like they've released dozens of features that we know about, even in this past generation, just because Xbox was there pushing them to. And if Xbox goes away, all gamers end up like, you know, paying the price for that. So I don't want to see.
Xbox has been very innovative in the way that they like, you know, I mean, one of the biggest things that they were pushing, and I love this kind of like mantra that they went with, like the whole fact that we don't care where you are, what device you're on, we just want you to play games where you want to play it and play, you know, play together. And I'm so like, for me as a gamer, that's a huge thing for me. I want to be able to play my games wherever I want to play them and enjoy them with my friends wherever I want to, you know, wherever I want to, you know, whatever I want to play. But, you know, actually, you know, it's kind of like, David, we've had that kind of a little struggle with that with some of the, even the newer games that you would think at this point would be on, you know, that on that front end of being like on the cutting edge of like crossplay and, you know, being able to work, you know, these games together and actually be able to play together. I mean, Elden Ring was one of them. I'm very, very surprised that we're having so much trouble with it. And you would think at this point, like in the year 2024, we wouldn't have this problem, but we're still having this problem with like crossplay and playing games that you think should work, and they don't.
Well, and that's the thing too. If there's certain games that PlayStation comes out with that are not crossplay, like, I mean, like, that kind of increases their value proposition while decreasing the proposition of playing it anywhere else, right? And so, like, if Xbox starts selling 10-1, like, starts selling, like, 1-10 of every PlayStation, right? Where only 1 out of every 10 console players has an Xbox, then, like, most of your friends are just going to be on PlayStation. Like, why wouldn't you get a PlayStation 2, you know?
Right.
Not the PS2, but, like, a PlayStation as well.
The PS2. Why wouldn't you get on the PS2 when everybody else is on the PS5? I mean, that just makes sense.
Speaking of PS2, I just bought Gollum the other day, so I'm super hyped for that.
All right. You get to play the new PS2 game.
Nice. Well, and I think my feelings about it are more Microsoft is doing a really bad job in the sense that after the showcase, Xbox Game Showcase, right, we're all feeling really good. Some of the statements made around that time of it's not Starfield, it's not Indiana Jones, and like Game Pass gets all games day one, all Microsoft Studio games day one on Game Pass, right? That's not true. Neither of those two things are true that they said. Right? Like there's a level of Game Pass that is not getting day one releases. And Indiana Jones is going to PlayStation. Right? And so it makes it hard to believe what they're saying or to like give them the benefit of the doubt. Because it's like, oh, well, they said that, but that turned out to not be true. They said that turned out to not be true. You know?
I think what we're seeing is the conflict between Microsoft and Xbox. And what Phil Spencer said at, I think it was Gamescom, when he was asked specifically about Indiana Jones coming to PlayStation, was like, he's really happy that more gamers will get to play it. And also, you know what? Microsoft has been extremely supportive of them. And sometimes there's some decisions that they, like, after all, it is a business. And sometimes Xbox has to make some concessions to, like, kind of like, you know, bring back, like, bring the output that Microsoft expects from them, right? And Microsoft did just, like, front the money for them to buy Activision Blizzard King, you know? And so, like, I think that there's a lot of give and take there, more so than ever, because I feel like when Phil Spencer came on, Microsoft was about to cut Xbox off. I think they even, like, there were even rumors of that potentially happening. And now we're at a point where Microsoft is, like, actually all in on Xbox, but they're also getting their hands way more into Xbox's business. And I think that's understandable, but also pretty, like it's hard to like it, you know?
Yeah,
especially when it seems to, like,
when they make decisions from the top, you know they're going to be making decisions for the best of the business, not necessarily the best for gamers, and that's what it comes down to a little bit. But also, I want to go back to what you were talking about, Indiana Jones coming to PlayStation, and like the fact that he's happy that they're, you know, going to more gamers out there, to all the fans over PlayStation. I'm totally down with that, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because I feel the same way about the Spider-Man games, and I know we've already talked about this, but it makes sense to kind of bring it back up, because that's exactly how I feel about those games. I feel like everybody knows that franchise, like probably even more than Indiana Jones. You know, Indiana Jones is really big, but, you know, Spider-Man's way bigger. Spider-Man's way bigger, you know, because of the Marvel Universe and everything. I feel like everybody should be able to play that game, and I hope this sparks some kind of conversation, which maybe it won't, but, like, okay, if Xbox is playing nice with PlayStation, maybe some of these games, maybe not Spider-Man, but maybe some others in the future will actually come to Xbox.
It's all PlayStation has.
Literally, like, it took so much for PlayStation to even put multiplayer on PC, right? That they'll never let their games come to Xbox, especially when they have the lead. Like, if they were in second place like Xbox currently is, I could see maybe there being an argument for it, but I don't think it'll happen.
Sony's too stubborn.
And then also you
culture.
absolutely have to consider the way that, like, Japanese companies operate as opposed to American ones too.
Yeah.
They would rather die.
When it comes down to Indiana Jones specifically, I think so. Some previews came out, and those previews have been pretty praiseworthy, like extremely praiseworthy. Like that this might be like Machine Games' swan song, so to speak. Like this might be the best thing that they've ever done. I don't think anyone was necessarily expecting that. I think part of the reason why Avowed got delayed into, like, February was to make more room for this game. I think that this
I totally was expecting this. I just want to throw that out there.
I think that this game coming to PlayStation is very much part of, like, oh wow, this game is actually testing really well internally. A lot of people are loving this. We need to get this out everywhere that we can, because this is actually going to be a pretty big hit. I think that's what we're seeing here.
I've been sitting here saying this whole thing the whole time. I love Indiana Jones, and I can't wait.
That was the
for
worst part of Game Showcase, and it's so wild to hear David talk about it like this, because it's like I have negative interest. I have negative interest.
That showing was a really bad showing, I think, for your casual gamer. But I also wonder too what it's like, because I always try to wait until I have hands on sticks, right? I always try to wait until I have the game to actually play, because I don't trust trailers anymore. I wish I could, but we're just not in a place where we can anymore. So I mean, like,
there's a lot that you can make people lead to believe in a trailer. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that is for sure.
I come in from a very much of a much more casual gamer viewpoint than the three of you, right? I don't get that chance to play as often. Heck, I don't even have one of the newer systems. Only have just recently bought the ROG, right? ROG Ally. What I'm seeing more movement towards, at least from our side, is less of a focus on the AAA games that you're talking about, publisher exclusive, and moving more towards AA games is what I'm seeing a lot more interest in widespread. And then coming in along afterwards, these major publishers coming in and supporting them to expand their portfolios and expand their, gaming libraries, you could say, of sort of portfolios. I mean, you look at Sony. Sony's dead except for PlayStation, even here in Japan. Like it's here in Japan because it's a Japanese company. Pretty much the only reason why it's still alive. Microsoft, other than computers themselves, are not in here, but they're way far outclassed even in the public square by Fujitsu computers and other things. Only the OS system is what sells here. But what you do see a lot is support for Indian, single and AA games. You see a lot of that support here. And as someone who doesn't get a lot of time to play those AAA games coming out, it feels like there's a new one every week. You just get burnt out with it. So I think they have to toe that line between casual gamers like myself, who don't have a lot of time, but also still having to support the more hardcore fan base of all of their systems and games.
And I want to bring up really quick that Apple is still popular here. So, hey, freaking Microsoft, step up. You know what I mean? Freaking, what's your problem?
When it comes down to Microsoft, I feel like they've always been exceptionally terrible at selling hardware. Like,
terrible, yes.
When it comes down to it, like the Surface is the only real success I feel like they've had in the past decade and a half, maybe 2 decades. When it comes down to it, yeah. I don't know if it's OS, marketing, right? Or design or what. Some of their designs seem pretty good. Zune was, pretty great. Microsoft Band was pretty great. But I mean,
he's reaching back there, isn't he? Zune was great, and I actually, I just want to, for the visual bit right here.
2 of the 3 people who had Zunes are in this podcast right now.
Here we go, right here. I still got mine right here. I keep it on my desk because it's just a keepsake. It's just amazing. But this hardware better than an iPod by far. The service was way better. It is so much better.
How dare you?
And the only reason,
but again, also that came down to software though, the service or whatever. In terms of the actual the structure of it. It wasn't necessarily that the hardware outclassed the iPod. It was that the software
the software
jumped
was better
on subscription planning.
The whole subscription thing, innovative, innovative, way ahead of its time. How many times does Microsoft have to do that? They get ahead of their time.
Just like HoloLens.
Yeah, they don't stick to their guns, and they lose out. And I hate that. But how many times has it been? It's a dozen times at least, if not more.
I will admit that is true. But you guys, I need to bounce on time today. So is there any closing comments anyone wants to make before we wrap up? Logan, thank you for being a part of the podcast. Appreciate you. You're muted.
Good luck to those astronauts who now have to wait till February.
You're muted, Logan. You muted yourself.
Really
Hold on.
Long additional stay.
That's crazy.
How am I muted? I was... Oh, there we go. That was weird. I wasn't muted at all to start with, but
that is weird. I'm gonna leave that in. I'm not gonna edit that out.
Okay. Do it. That's fine.
Johnny
fine.
actually in the background tweaking it.
Yes, I do hope that those astronauts come down alive. Ideally.
Yep. They're gonna. Well, allegedly they're gonna take a SpaceX Dragon in February to come back.
What?
So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. That's what NASA just decided, that they're not going to try to use Boeing anymore to get them back. So we'll see how that goes.
Good.
This is what happens when there's not enough competition in the industry. Astronauts get stranded.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
This is what happens if Microsoft closes Xbox. Astronauts are going to get stranded on the ISS. All right, well, you guys, thanks for listening. Give us a good rating, and see y'all next week. Bye.
Get out of here, Craig.